She's April.
And she's Molly.
And we are...
the Book Besties. Your math is not good, so we're going to use my math.
Like, this whole episode's going to have spoilers.
It's cone. It has juice.
Don't close my eyes!
I don't want to fall asleep.
Because I miss you, baby.
And I don't want to miss a thing.
Hi, lady.
Hi.
Back to red.
Yeah, my hair had basically turned completely white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not something you want at 40.
No. The color had completely stripped out. So I went to a friend today. She cuts my son's hair.
Mm-hmm.
And normally she doesn't do mine, but I couldn't get in to get it fixed with my normal stylist. So she's like, yeah, I can fix it. And so there you go. It's red.
Gotcha.
I'm back to being April.
Gotcha. My hair was green. Was green. It kind of looks like a comb over. That's beside the point. I wanted to tell you about this friend. That is the fairy godmother.
From Cinderella.
We were unpacking because we got bookshelves for the girls. And she's kind of got crazy eyes.
Okay.
Like, real crazy eyes. So she creeps Piper out.
Okay.
So we hide her in Piper's shit to scare her.
That's terrible, Molly.
Then she hides it on us, thinking it's going to, get revenge back on us. And all we do is laugh and find it. But it was on my new bookshelf, up there. And I go, Piper, if you want to scare me, don't put it on an empty bookshelf.
Right.
You got to hide it.
Right.
She goes, it was in the fridge and you missed it. So I had to move it.
I finished Triptych yesterday, which we're reading for later this month. It's our last book this month. And I don't want to give anything away during this episode, but it gets real murdery. And I came out of the bedroom and I didn't realize Tom was in his office, and he walked out just as I walked out of our bedroom, and I just screamed like the top of my lungs. And he just kind of looked at me and was like, I was like, the book was real murdery. I'm sorry.
I'm not used to having all these jump scares. Leave me alone. I'm on edge.
Oh man,
it's been a busy week.
So we have some news, everybody.
Yes,
we have a website now.
We have a website.
Yes, bookbestiespodcast.com. That's our domain. We actually have a domain and a website, and I designed it, so if you hate it and you want to make it better, we can't pay you, but we'll gladly accept the help.
It's not terrible. We're still working on it. We're we're putting on the old episodes. It's going to be a while till it's 100% updated.
Right.
But it is a start.
But season 3 is on there. We're still working on the back catalog, but all of season 3 is on there in the first few episodes of season 1. But at the very least, you can email us through that website. You can read our bios, that kind of stuff. We should probably open a comment section on the episodes and let people comment on the website too. We don't have that yet, but hey, we'll do that.
You guys can send us money if you want to send us monies. We would like that too.
Possibly. I haven't quite figured out the donate thing yet.
We're going to figure that out. But
if you like our content and you want to support us, we are going to be starting, what's it called?
I don't know. A thing where they not a Patreon. We're not starting a Patreon.
No, that's what it is.
A Patreon with exclusive content and all that?
Oh, I don't know. Fuck. At the very least, you can donate to our website.
You guys got to remember. We're
By the way, when I told Tom we were going to start a Patreon, I actually said we were going to start a Patronus, and he was like, "That's not what you're doing." And I was like,
"That's not anything."
No, we are. And then I was describing it. He's like, "That's not a Patronus, April." I was like, "What did I say?"
Wingardium Leviosa.
Right. God.
So this week, I don't have the book.
I do.
Project Hail Mary. Oh my God, what a book.
By Andy Weir.
God, what a book.
This copy is from my local library. Support local libraries.
Support local libraries. It's almost it's banned book month.
It is Banned Book Month. Banned Books Week is the week this episode comes out. I don't know. Go ahead and talk, and I'll look at it.
So I don't know what I was going to say. I was going to see if you wanted a synopsis.
Well, I always want a synopsis. The Banned Books Week is September 18th through the 24th. So this episode comes out on the 13th. So
almost
next week.
Next week is Banned Books Week. Yeah. Go to your local library. Ask your local librarian for their favorite banned book. They love talking about banned books. Librarians love talking about banned books.
And in doing so, don't try to also have it banned. There's a lot of...
Yeah, that's not what we're not here to promote banning of books.
Right. We're here to promote the freedom to read whatever the fuck you want. So last year in season 1, we did 4 banned books during the month of September, and we decided not to do that this month or this year. But books are being banned like crazy. Like there was a library in Michigan that the public voted to defund completely. And Nora Roberts, who is a romance author, very famous romance author, donated $50,000 to keep the doors open.
That's what's up. I didn't know she was still alive. My grandma used to read those books. How about a synopsis?
Yes, let's have a synopsis.
Synopsis. When we first meet Ryland Grace, he has no clue who he is or where he is. But over time, we learn that he's a middle school science teacher who has just joined a task force ran by Eve Stratt. This task force is trying to figure out why the sun is dimming, and that reason is astrophage. This book Astrophage. This book takes us on a journey like no other. Aliens, worlds collapsing, and a little humor fills these pages.
A lot of humor.
I'm going to give, normally it's spoiler alert city here, but this is a new book.
Yeah, the paperback version isn't even out yet. It does come out this year, but the paperback version
this was just released in the beginning of the year, so
2021.
Spoilers.
It was last year, 2021.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's new. No, it's pretty new. So, spoilers, guys. This is a popular book. It's going to do well. There's even going to be a movie, which we're going to talk about. But this has spoilers. This whole episode's going to have spoilers. So, stop here. Go read it. Come back. But, I don't want to hear in the comments that we ruined the book for you. Because... you know what we do here, y'all.
Right. And if you haven't read this book, you just need to. This is
just do it.
Such a good book.
Good book.
Such a good book.
So I'll just jump right in. The beginning of this book is interesting. We know our main character he doesn't know who or where he is when he wakes up out of a coma. What did I write? This is so weird. Anyways, Ryland wakes up.
I don't know, Molly. What did you write?
Okay, so at the beginning of this book, we don't know who our character is or where he is, right? We start this book off completely blind to our setting and our character's name. He's coming out of a coma.
Right. He's got tubes everywhere, including his butt.
Which he's very, graphic about because he likes to share that kind of information.
And there's 2 dead people next to him.
Yes. What did you think of the choice of the author slowly introducing us to Ryland this way and his setting?
All right. So I went on a journey with how I felt about this.
Okay.
So when Dr. Grace, Ryland, whatever you want to call him, when he wakes up, he doesn't know his name, but he somehow knows science and he somehow knows other things that obviously are about his life. He knows that the 2 dead people next to him are important to him, but he can't remember their names or who they are. He doesn't even realize at the time that he's in space because they're traveling faster than the speed of light, so he has gravity.
Right.
So at first I was like, okay, well, this is kind of annoying. I just want to know. I want to know why he's there.
Oh, I'm constantly going, what's your name? At the beginning of this book.
You and all the robots. I ultimately ended up liking the way that he did this, but I really I don't mind a nonlinear timeline. I don't mind that. But in parts of this book, it was kind of irritating. Now, I do understand why he did it, because I'm not going to give away the spoiler of like the twist yet of why he's in space. But that reveal kind of made it worth it for me. But really, most of the book, I was kind of like, I just would rather have the past be in the past and then get to the present.
Look, flashbacks are hard to write, right? Yeah. And I feel like this is a really great, seamless way to do that. Like, put your character in a coma, make them slowly figure... But you can't do this every book, right? This is a fluke with the flashback, because you can't... Flashbacks don't usually work this well.
Right. And, I mean, I don't mind a flashback, but what I minded about this was that, like, you would be in the middle of a sentence and all of a sudden it was like a flash of like what he remembered.
How is it in the book? Like, is there a divide in the writing, or is it just phase into like from point A to point B like it does in the audiobook?
So that's especially why I wanted to get the physical copy from the library. But all it does are these spaces here. So it gives you a little bit more of like a notification that there's going to be a pause, which you don't get from the audiobook, but it doesn't do like a line or a, like, you know, we don't have heart music to tell us, ooh, what is it from Wayne's World? You don't have any of that. So,
Wayne's World. No, okay, I'm sorry.
We don't have any of that. So it is a little difficult to like realize, oh, that was something in the past. And actually, I was listening to the audiobook and like, I thought he was having conversations with Rocky, and he was like having conversations with people on Earth. And I was like, what?
Right. Just happened? When did we switch this tempo? Yeah.
So at times it could be a little confusing.
When it first hit, I was very confused and had to rewind. Then I, like, the first flashback. Mm-hmm. And once I caught on that he had, like, had a flashback or we were in the past, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I get it now. There definitely needs to be a break or a sound of some sort in there because it's very confusing.
Well, I will say, though, what was kind of cool was like how he played it in the beginning as he's coming out of the coma and he has the amnesia. Mm-hmm. And he's saying things like, why am I not cursing? I don't like the first memory he has. He's single. So he's like, I don't think I have kids. If I have kids, I'm definitely divorced. And he's like, why? But I like kids. Why would I not curse? Oh, I don't like where this is going, that I like kids, but I don't have kids. And it's like, oh, I'm a teacher. That's why. And so that was pretty funny for me that he was like spiraling, like, what's going on here?
He's like, there wasn't toys at my house. Like,
yeah.
He's like, I don't understand this math.
Yeah. The math ain't mathin', friends.
The math ain't mathin'. Man.
Yeah.
That's not one way you want to wake up out of a coma. Oh, look, I'm a pedophile.
Gosh. Oh, Molly. Man.
So this is not our first Andy Weir read.
Right. Like, we did The Martian in season 1.
What did you think of his style and voice? Is it consistent for the writer? Like,
he has a very clear, like...
Oh, facts.
Space cowboy voice. And let me just tell you, I will have to link it below, Molly, because I cannot think of the guy's actual like handle or whatever. But there is a guy on Instagram. He's probably on TikTok too, that our pod follows just because he's so funny. So I started following him for us. But he does D&D videos, and he has like this really long hair, and he looks just like he's all like beefy and like he looks like he's going to destroy things. Like that's the guy I kept picturing as Dr. Grace.
Nice.
As Ryland. And then funny story, I looked up the narrator and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy really looks like him. Like they look alike. And it was like, fuck.
There's a link to a YouTube video that I'll put in later and we're going to talk about it later. But Andy Weir talks about how he chose a different audiobook narrator for this book because it's different voices, right? The character in The Martian and who Riley and Grace are two completely different bodies, and he wanted different voices to embody that character. And I thought that was really interesting.
And I thought the narrator did a really good job handling all the different characters. Like, so we talked about, over the past couple of weeks, we've talked several times about books that have a large cast of characters. And like this book also had a large cast of characters. And weird large cast, because most of the story takes place between, you know, Ryland and Rocky in space. But then the stuff that happens on Earth, like I would very much knew who was talking when he was doing the narration. Like, it was very good.
Voice was distinct. Every character, you know who each character was. There was never confusion about who was speaking or where. And that's really important, especially with audiobooks. It's really important for the reader, listener, to know exactly what's going on and not have to backtrack.
100%.
It takes up time.
And I will say, Andy Weir writes like some funny shit. Like, I was literally in my car cracking the fuck up driving.
You know what it reminds me of, right?
What?
Firefly.
Oh, yeah.
It's Joss. He's Joss.
Shit, yes. Like,
he's Joss.
Especially this book. This is like Nathan Fillion could play.
Oh my god, Ryland. He would be an excellent Ryland.
Yeah, well, you just want him to be everything, including in your bed.
I want him to be everything, because Nathan Fillion is everything. Too bad Joss went and got himself like all like problematic and bullshit and being an awful, terrible human being, because he would have been an amazing director for this film.
Do you think that Alan Tudyk could do a Russian accent and be the Russian guy? Because that'd be fucking hilarious.
Alan Tudyk definitely can do a Russian accent.
That'd be fucking hilarious. The guy is like, we do science now. And I was just like, what is happening?
We do science now.
It's fine.
Ryland is the definition of a reluctant hero.
Literally.
Literally. I want to talk about everything that leads up to him going into space. We get this information slowly throughout the book as he remembers. What did you think of these choices by the author to tell the story this way? We kind of covered this.
Well, I want to say about him being a reluctant hero, I think he has an interesting story, right? So the reason that his character even gets involved with and names Astrophage, he names it.
He names it. He names a lot of shit in this. He is the namer of all.
Right. The reason that he gets involved in this in the first place is because he wrote a paper that basically was a big fuck you to the science community, and then like bounced and was like, I'm going to take my PhD and go teach
him.
Yeah. I'm going to take my PhD and go teach middle school science. Which is just so funny to me. But like his paper that he wrote was about basically that the main theory in science right now is that in order to have life, we have to have water. And Dr. Ryland's point was that's the case on Earth. That's the case on Earth. But that doesn't mean that other planets haven't had life evolve to not require water.
Yeah.
And spoiler, when he finds out that he's right, which, I mean, actually happens pretty early in the story because Astrophage is alive. He finds out that Astrophage is alive, and then he's like, well, Astrophage is mostly water. So then he is like, fuck, I might not be right. But then when he meets Rocky doesn't need water to survive and would most likely die if he had the water.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's just really interesting. But he gets involved basically because he's the only person that believes this. And like he sticks around despite the fact that like there's literally a scientist who's like, I don't want to work with that guy.
Right. Like Strickland's like, my favorite is like Strickland's like, you took 2 days to figure out if you could poke it with a stick. Like it took you 2 days to think about that. Like,
right. But he did destroy it.
He did destroy
it when he poked it with a stick.
Yeah. But he's the one that figures out that they procreate. He's the one that figures out. He figures
That's why
out.
That's why it kind of pissed me off when what's the woman's name who's in charge?
Eva Strat.
When Strat says, "Do you think I kept a middle school science teacher around this long for no purpose?" Like that kind of pissed me off. I'm like, he's your leading scientist. Like everybody else thinks he's your assistant.
He's obviously one of the smartest people on the planet.
Yeah. At least when it comes to Astrophage.
Yeah. Eva Strat, since we're talking about her, has ultimate power on Earth right now when she recruits Ryland. Like, there was a unanimous vote of NATO to just give her ultimate power over everything to save the human race. It was a unanimous yes, let this chick take over.
Right.
She is not upheld to any laws, and her job at the end is to save the Earth. So she just does whatever she wants, right?
Right.
She makes a statement about this when it's all over. She's probably going to face legal actions, right?
Right.
And I was wondering if you thought that was true.
She does in the book already. There's
but she says that she's going to be held up like for war crimes. She thinks that they're going to treat her like this. They're going to use her as a scapegoat, pretty much, is how she made it sound.
Well, I mean, I think if they weren't successful, then yes, that probably would be the case. But she'll probably be touted as a hero if they are successful. But you know the expression, absolute power corrupts absolutely?
Yeah.
That is Strat. She has absolute power, and she uses it. Like, she does some shady shit. Like, not even
that had to be done.
Not even taking Ryland into account. Not even taking what happened to Ryland into account. She gets the French guy who's the climate change scientist, and gets him to continue climate change, to like make it worse.
Because if you keep destroying our ozone, we'll stay alive longer.
Right.
Which it was a necessary evil in that moment.
But like that's crazy to me.
It is.
Like, and then they basically have warships that belong to them.
Right,
and they're blowing shit up.
Oh, and the reason she went to court was because she was taking copyrighted material against...
Yeah, that was like the most minor thing that she did, though.
And people are fucking suing her about it. So since you mentioned Ryland, let's talk about that. She chooses to send Ryland, big spoiler, on this mission against his will.
Yeah, which is fucking crazy.
This choice, would it be a choice you make? Would you have forced Ryland against his will?
No way. I understand what she was saying. Like, this is our one shot and the human race is at, like there's a danger of literally everybody dying. But what she did in order to get him there was not convince him. Like, I feel like Ryland
didn't have time to convince him, honestly.
No, I feel like it was really shitty of Ryland not to agree anyway. I get it. He didn't want to die. But because it was a suicide mission. Like, everyone going on that mission was going to die in space. They had the avenues for which they were choosing to die with them aboard the spaceship.
Cocaine.
Heroin. It wasn't cocaine, it was heroin.
Heroin.
Like, I think it's interesting that, like, he was such a reluctant hero that he, like, legitimately was like, I'm not going.
He's like, look, I know I'm a coward. I'd rather die on this planet than out there in space.
But the fact that she drugged him with, like, a concoction that basically causes you to lose your memory, but somehow keep science. And her hope was that when he realized what she had done to him, that he would be too invested to quit, which is ultimately what happened.
Right.
But
doesn't make him less pissed. I'd be pissed.
But she's got to be really glad that that's ultimately what happened, because what she didn't expect to happen was his true crewmates to be dead.
Right.
Like, he didn't even know how to do all of the things. He was not the lead on the ship.
He was the scientist. That was his
He was
job.
the scientist training scientists to go to space. Like, he wasn't supposed to go.
Yeah, and the type of concussion stuff that they were using was a self-induced coma, but you have to have a certain genetic marker to be able to come out of it, and like there's only certain people that could do it. It's very complicated. So for Ryland,
it's not real. It's not a real thing. But it's sci-fi. But
could you hold Strat's job? Do you think?
No, I don't want that. Ultimate power? No. Listen, I have an anxiety disorder. Sometimes I can't decide like what to eat for breakfast. Like, it's taxing.
So I skip breakfast.
So I I don't want that kind of responsibility. No.
Was it believable? All the world's powers getting together. You think this would happen?
I actually really do think it was believable. And here's why, Molly. Because despite the fact that everybody gave her power, nobody trusted her. The Chinese were still spying on her.
Right.
They knew about the Ryland's
procreation.
That he was able to get them to breed, right? They knew about that before anyone else did.
And they were already breeding them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, the Russians were involved in doing, like, stuff on the side as well. Like, there were people that were involved that, like, were involved so that they could fuck around. Like, we're going to be invested in this too. You don't get to do all this by yourself. And I do think that's possible. Now, do I think it would just be one person? No, it would probably most likely be a team of advisors.
Yeah, a committee of some sort. Yeah.
And I guess that's sort of what she had, was a team of advisors, but ultimately she had
final say over everything.
The part that I do find unbelievable is that she wasn't American, because if something like this happened, you better fucking believe America's running shit.
Absolutely. You think the Americans are just going to, like, hand it over?
We create something like the UN, but we set it motherfucking here. Like, we don't give up power.
We don't trust no one. So we've been talking about Rocky, so let's talk about aliens.
Yay, aliens.
In this book, we meet specifically one alien, Rocky. He's from Endocrine. He kind of looks like a spider. Endocrine 40 system he's from.
Yeah, I think that spider was a nod to Starship Troopers, which we read in season 2.
And we'll put in comments so you can hear all of what we thought about that book. Come to find out, Astrophage is destroying their star just like Earth's star. Mm-hmm. So Rocky had a massive crew with him.
Right, and a really big ship.
And he ended up being his lone survivor when he stumbles across Ryland.
Right.
And they become somehow this buddy cop movie.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
And they figure it all out together. Let's just talk about it. Let's just dive into it.
Okay, first of all, I want to say Rocky obviously does not speak English because they're not insane. No. They're not going to make this. Andy Weir's a better writer than that. And there's no such thing as a babblefish like there is in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. Yeah. Like, he keeps the science pretty real.
He keeps the science and pretty hard.
Yeah. So Rocky speaks in tones. So he has a musical tone. So for this book, I highly recommend the audiobook because they play
which we're going to talk about. I have a whole
right. Yeah. Well, I like what they did with how they got to know each other's language. So we find out that Rocky can't actually see. He doesn't have eyes. Mm-mm. He basically hears things. It's sort of like echolocation is sort of the best way.
So he's kind of got badness and sound. Like
he feels vibrations and
it's a whole thing.
So he sends Ryland basically a 3D model of where he's from.
Yeah.
And then Ryland sends back a 3D model of where he's from. So that's how they begin to communicate with each other. When they start talking to each other, Ryland creates a pretty badass computer code that basically, that part's kind of unbelievable. Ryland doesn't seem to know about computer coding, but he could all of a sudden make this code. But anyway, they basically translate, and then he's able to speak English to Rocky, who can understand it. And then Rocky speaks back in his tones, and Ryland translates it, basically.
It's so cool.
And it's really cool.
And we can't do it justice to his words to explain how awesome this is. It goes on for chapters. And
it's like most of the book.
They learn to communicate. They learn to work together. They're not just communicating. They're teaching each other too, right? Rocky has elements like, what was the one thing that he has? I have it written down. A specific metal that Rocky has that Ryland doesn't. It's an element that's on our periodic table. That
Are you talking about the noble gas that he's able to bond with?
Yeah.
Oh shit! What is it?
It's on my phone. I don't have my phone. Xenonite, which turns out to be a badass metal that they can use for everything.
Yeah, well, xenon is not able to be bonded with anything. We've never successfully bonded it. Right. That's why it's considered a noble element. But his people have figured out how to do it, and it makes this amazingly strong substance. I don't think it's actually metal.
No.
But It's more like a really strong, like, plastic kind of thing.
Right.
But it does everything. It's pretty
everything.
Cool. But what I thought was interesting is I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. I kept waiting for Rocky to, like, murder him and, like, steal all the information.
Because spiders are evil.
No, it wasn't that. It was just, like, it's an alien, right? So, and it's an alien movie, and all the space movies that I've seen, they try to kill each other, like, you know? So I just was surprised that they ended up just, like, legitimately being friends and, like, becoming really family with each other. Like, they were going to fix the problem of both of their worlds, and they were going to be heroes.
They were.
And
they were.
Yeah. And I thought that was really cool. And I love how Rocky, even though he was learning, like, English words, or he was understanding English phrases and things, there were still things like, instead of saying amazing, he kept saying amaze. And I loved it. I was like, amaze, not amazing. That's amaze. I was like, that's perfect.
Rocky very much reminds me of a very impatient kindergartner, right? Because it's like,
you know who he reminds me of?
Who? Me?
Chewbacca.
Chewbacca, yeah.
Yeah. Like, why are you motherfuckers so dumb? Like,
but also he's impatient, right? He's like he's constantly asking when Ryland's doing something. Status update. Tell me what you're doing. Status update.
Right.
Like, tell me what you're doing. Hurry up. Like, they are.
And I love when he tells Ryland, "Your math is not good, so we're going to use my math."
Since you brought up the tones, I'm going to jump ahead a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
There's something special about this audiobook that the physical book is never going to have.
Right.
And it's Rocky's language and sounds.
Right.
Now, and this is how...
Sorry, go ahead.
And this is how he communicates. This is all set in the audiobook. This sets the audiobook up to, air quote, be better than the physical book. What did you think of this audiobook performance?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought the guy was wonderful. He was 100% the voice of Ryland.
Yes.
I wanted to say that in the physical book, when Rocky is talking before we get the translations, there are musical notes printed
in the book, in the physical book.
Yeah, I'm trying to find an example for you.
That's interesting.
I can't find it.
But it doesn't sound like a piano or...
No, it's more like a synth.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's more of a synthesizer.
Yeah, and I like that they do that. And I like when we start getting Rocky's language in English, they still play like that synthesizer noise behind it. It's almost like they auto-tuned the narrator.
Right, or like, we know Rocky's speaking in his, like, they do it so you know that Rocky's speaking in his language, but it's translated for our Ryland, which is really, it was very good. It was excellent. And
I sort of found it hard to believe that he was able to learn Rocky's language that quickly, though.
Without any musical talent, yeah.
Right.
All the science is in this book, just like The Martian.
There's a lot of science.
There's so much science.
Well, it's different than The Martian because The Martian really focused more on, like, the botany. There was a lot more to do with botany because the main character was a botanist.
Right.
This book, Dr. Grace is really an evolutionary scientist.
Yeah.
But he's doing all the motherfucking things.
All the science. And there's a lot of stuff that's over my head in here because I can't science the science.
Because you're not an astroscientist?
I'm not an astroscientist. Can you believe that? I'm not an astrophysicist.
Right.
It's shocking that I'm not actually as talented as I am. But what I love about this author specifically is he weaves in, and I love when other authors do this too, he weaves in real life science into science fiction. What did you think of his choice to pretty much make the downfall of Earth a space virus?
Well, I thought it was pretty clever because there are a lot of scientists that believe that our sun will self-destruct.
Yeah, eventually, yes. I think that's correct.
So that's ultimately what would destroy our planet, because when a star dies, it creates a black hole.
Right.
This is a phenomenon that happens in every galaxy.
I mean, it happens eventually, yes, right. Because it's the life cycle of a star.
Right. So to make it be sun related, I think that made sense. I liked that it was like a living thing. Like it was basically
he compared
a bacteria.
Algae to his middle students. Schoolers. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like it was an algae, which I have a pond. I reluctantly have a pond, but our pond has.
I don't have a pond.
Oh man,
that's an inside joke. Sorry, guys.
But our pond has algae that grows in it, and you know, it really does. It's like living. You know, it's alive. And very clever that it would be eating the sun.
Yeah.
And I think it's really clever how they explain how it's able to do that. Mm-hmm. So it's not actually like eating anything. It's like sucking the life of it because that's how they breed.
It's how they breed. They use that energy to go back to their home planet.
Which recharge, basically.
They use it to recharge. They procreate and split, and then they start the cycle all over again.
I thought it was really clever.
It is smart how he balances between real and not real so much that this could be realistic, right?
Well, and I think it's more realistic than this asteroid is going to destroy your planet. I mean, no, that's not true.
You're telling me
it's not more realistic than that, because that could happen too. But that's been done.
Telling me Armageddon never happened?
I was also thinking about Armageddon. I love that you were there too. I don't want to close my eyes.
I don't want to fall asleep because I miss you, baby. And I don't want to miss a thing. Thank you, Liv Tyler.
God awful singing right there.
But we owe you one, Liv Tyler. She's adorable.
Anyway, that could happen, but it's been done. That's what usually happens when the planet's about to be destroyed, is that it's an asteroid or it's an earthquake or it's
or the fault lines are falling apart, or China is blown up all of their nuclear weapons and they don't have control. And
but this was original. It was original. I liked it a lot.
Creative and original, and it was outside of what
I really want to meet Andy Weir.
I really do too. Andy, you are welcome on at any time.
Anytime.
We'll do a revisit if you want when you release the paperback. Just have your people call our people. We don't have people, but we'll pretend
we are our people. We are our people.
We are the people.
I just really think that Andy Weir, sci-fi is not my jam. I love sci-fi movies and TV shows, but books are not really my thing. And I really love Andy Weir's writing. It's funny and it's smart and it makes you feel things.
He makes sci-fi accessible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like I know some of the science goes over my head. I know that I don't understand the depths of everything, but I can keep up. I can follow along. I'm not lost in the sauce when he gets Jurassic Park. I'll get lost in that book when they get heavy in the DNA sequencing bullshit. I have to look that stuff up. There's other science fiction stuff where they've talked about storms and they get into the barometer pressure and they talk about the charts and all that jazz. Don't understand that shit. It's refreshing to have a sci-fi author who wants his readers to understand what he's saying.
Well, yeah, I agree.
He doesn't expect them to be astrophysicists.
And I also feel like that's part of the reason why I didn't think the movie The Martian totally worked, because I think you lose something from the text. There's a humor there and a depth there that I don't think you can get from a movie.
I liked that movie.
Even with Matt Damon.
I liked that movie. Matt Damon was perfect in that role, though.
I didn't hate that movie, but when I saw that movie, I had no desire to read the book after that. And I wouldn't have read the book had you not put it on pod. And now that is one of my favorite books. When people ask me, like, what are my favorite things we've read for
W
pod,
right there.
Like,
that's a W.
When people ask what are my favorite things that we've read for pod, it's mostly romance and also Andy Weir. And also John Green, but I already liked John Green.
John Green every season till he's on, though.
But I already liked John Green, so I don't know that counts.
I mean, maybe it made you like him more.
I love John Green.
I know you do.
John Green every season till he comes on.
John Green every season till he's on. So a lot happens, right, in this book. We get to the planet they're going to, where they follow the Petrova line to the planet. I can't remember what the planet is. Name, it doesn't matter. And they find out that the astrophage... Tau 7. We find out that astrophage has its own natural life cycle, and it has its own predator even.
It does.
So they figure out how to get that on their ship, and things go sideways from there.
Of course they do, because it couldn't be perfect.
No. And that was like the peak of this book, right?
I do think that part got a little lengthy. Like, I don't think that they needed to have all of the bad things happen that happen. And you could have cut out, like, some of the chapters in this. But I think that was more about building the relationship between Ryland and Rocky.
We needed them to, like... We needed them to bond and become best friends and feel like they're this unit.
Or the ending doesn't work.
And we don't get upset when, one, we think Rocky dies, right? There's this moment where we think Rocky dies.
I was literally like...
I was super upset about that.
You texted me, and I was just like, ... because I couldn't tell you that he comes back. But I was like, real upset.
There's this moment where we think he dies. And then... when they separate and they go their separate ways and they go to try to save their other planets, he realizes that Rocky, like, the thing that eats the astrophage gets into the astrophage in their ships.
Right. Which they're using astrophage as fuel.
Right.
So they're completely fucked at that point.
So they're dead. He's dead in the water, right? And he realizes that he figured this out, but he realized that Rocky's not going to figure this out.
Right.
So he decides to send his shuttles back to Earth to save Earth. The Beatles, John, Paul, George, and Ringo. And he goes and saves Rocky.
Right.
And
that does not work if they don't get that bond.
No. Work. He wouldn't have cared. Why would an Earthling save a space arachnid? Like,
and also... I think that is some huge motherfucking character growth on Ryland's part.
For Ryland.
Because to choose Rocky is to choose death. He's choosing at that point to die. Right. And he wouldn't go to space to save the world.
So he's obviously matured and he's grown. So in the end, Rocky saves Rocky so he can save Rocky's people. Do you like this ending? Do you like that he went back to Rocky's planet and became a school teacher and just he's a freaking a zoo animal for them?
I love the ending.
I
love it. The only part I could have done without is the me burger that he's basically
I don't want
eating his own meat. That's weird to me, but
the meat burger
that was gross. But the rest of it,
animal though.
He lives inside like the see-through glass, so he can see them, and they know he's there because they're echolocation stuff.
Right, and but it's all dark.
He's got like a piano that plays the sounds, so he can teach kids. I loved the ending. I love the visual of the two of them sitting in that room together and basically just shooting the shit.
Best friends.
Like two best friends. Yeah.
And like he's giving him a hard time.
Remind me of,
on his ass, right? Like he's like, when are you going home? But I don't want you to go home.
Right. They kind of remind me of like Marshall and Ted.
Yeah.
Like, they've got a Marshall and Ted relationship. Marshall's got his shit together and got a family, and he's like, Ted, when are you gonna get your shit together? Like Ryland, when you get your shit together.
Yeah.
I think the choice to have him stay, like that he's making the choice to stay and not try to go back to Earth.
Yeah.
I think that's a little weird.
He just assumes, I mean, they do get notification that the sun is fine and the Earth is fine. I would want to go home. I would want to go home.
I would too.
Even if I am single and all that jazz like he was, I still want to go back.
I guess he just sort of figures that, like, everyone that he knew there is dead at that point, because, like, the way he's aging since he's in space, he's aging slower than everybody else.
Yeah.
So by the time that he would have actually gotten back to Earth, he probably wouldn't know anybody. It'd be like a Captain America situation when, like, they find him and he's, like, you know, an old man, but he's still a young guy. Like, that's what it would be. So I kind of understand it, because he has found a friend in Rocky and he's got a job with the kids, and
he doesn't know what he's going back to. I get that.
Right. But I also think
but probably it's a Nobel Prize. If he goes back, it's a Nobel Prize. Heroes parades.
He didn't really want to be a hero to begin with.
I mean, he didn't want to be in space. Man, maybe he just lets them think he's a dead hero.
In some ways, that might be better, right? If he goes back, he could have also been tried for whatever.
War crimes, like Kerr, Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess.
You never know. You never know what he's going to do.
And I think that's okay. Some books, I need the ending, but, like, I need to know how Earth fares or whatever. I'm good with where we are.
So, I'm not.
Really?
Not. This is my only for this book. Ooh. I really want an afterword that gives me a look at what happened on Earth. I don't have to know that it's 14 years later and the Earth is fine, because we get that from the Rocky reporting that the sun is back to health. What I want is a transcript being read of what was on the Beatles. I want to know what Ryland told them. I want to know that he said,
he throws Strickland under the bus. He's like, meh, meh.
Right. I want to know that he tells them he found alien life and this is where the aliens live.
Come find my ass, fuckers.
And this is all the things about Rocky, because he had all that information on the ship. And I mean, he had to have photos and stuff, like videos. He did.
He was taking pictures.
Right. So I want that. I want the transcript where he's like, Strickland, you motherfucker. I'll never forgive you for sending me here. But also, here's what I found and I've saved the day. And here's how you fix it. And also there's aliens. They're real. Here you go. The end. I want that. That would have completed the book for me.
I like it open-ended. It gives us a hope that maybe Ryland will go back to Earth, but I doubt it.
He's not going back to Earth.
I doubt
Andy Weir's not writing a sequel to this book. That's
absolutely not. That's not what he does. A movie has already been confirmed by Andy Weir. I'm going to include
that makes me happy. That makes me happy
about this. Do you think it's going to do well, like The Martian?
I mean, it probably will. Sci-fi movies have such big budgets that like they promote the shit out of them.
Yeah.
If it's a good sci-fi movie, like really shitty sci-fi movies, no. But
was there anybody like particular you had in mind for casting when it came to any of the characters?
I do think Nathan Fillion would make a good Ryland Grace.
He might be a little too old, though.
Yeah, maybe. I also think that. Oh my gosh, fuck! I just forgot his name.
Alan Tudyk?
No. Who do you think would be good?
I like, New Girl?
Yeah.
The actor that plays Nick? I want him to be Ryland Grace. Jack Johnson's the actor's name.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Jack Johnson. He's the appropriate age. He'd be really funny.
Isn't Jack Johnson a singer?
Yeah, they have the same name. It's weird.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure his name is Jack Johnson.
I'm Jake Johnson. His name is Jake
Johnson. Is it Jake Johnson?
It's Jake Johnson. I just Googled it. I think that would be okay, but I actually think... Okay, hang on. I'm going to pull it up now because I can't remember his name. I actually think the person that would be best is... the guy Kyle Chandler. He was Coach Eric Taylor.
Oh yeah.
On Friday Night Lights. I think what's his show that he's on now?
I know who you're talking about.
He's on a show now on Netflix or something.
There's too many of them.
Bloodline. That's the show that I was thinking of. But anyway, he plays the agent who handles the bomb and the person.
Yeah, he's from. Well, we've seen him in Grace too, right?
Yeah, right. But I think Kyle Chandler would be an awesome Ryland Grace.
Maybe he's old like Nathan Fillion though, same age.
Well, how old is Ryland?
I think he's in his late 30s, 40s.
Really? Well, okay.
Okay, they're saying he's 29 in this. This is a Reddit thread.
Well, then that's not going to work, I guess. So, I give up.
I don't know. It doesn't matter, I guess.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. I think that's it for my questions.
Okay.
That's what I got. Do you have final thoughts?
I gave this a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads.
Damn.
I know. I did. I'm a huge fan of Andy Weir's work. Really, he's a very, very talented writer. Very talented what's been interesting about my Goodreads this year? I was looking through it yesterday because I've read 46 books this year, I think. Damn. I mean, a lot of them are pod books. We have to read a book a week for the pod.
I know.
So, we do take off a couple weeks at the beginning and end of seasons, but I was looking through and my ratings are like all over the place. Like I have more 5s this year than I probably have ever had in my life, but I also have a lot of 1s.
Yeah. But that's what happens when you read as much as we do.
Right.
You're not going to hit gold every time.
Right.
Right.
Well, and we've read some books that I deeply disliked.
Yeah.
Like The Lost Apothecary.
The Lost Apothecary. Remember, gang. Remember our bet.
1,000 followers before season 5.
1,000 followers before 5, and she will record it.
Yay. Just feels unlikely. Hey, I loved last week us having Alexa on.
Alexa was so much fun.
Cool.
So much fun.
I definitely want to have her on again for season 4. She was awesome.
And we have another guest coming up soon, Kendra.
We do. Kendra Thomas, and she is an independent author. Mm-hmm. She writes YA. And we'll be talking to her in October. We met her this month to do some planning behind the scenes stuff. Really cool. She's really cool. Yeah. And she has a great following on Instagram as well. I shared one of her reels to our stories this week. It was very funny. It's that whole corn thing. It's cone.
Oh my God. If I hear that song no more of that song. I love that song.
It's so funny. It's so that little boy. Catchy. Have you seen the video of the little boy that the original video?
Yeah.
He doesn't even have the teeth to eat corn. I'm like, this is amazing.
He's so dedicated to corn.
Right. Dedicated. That's the perfect.
Dedicated to corn.
So anyway, I really loved having her on. We have some great guests this season. It's just really great. But anyway, so final thoughts were I loved this book. It was a 5 out of 5 for me. I would have liked it afterward just because I wanted to see the snarky comments that he sent home to Earth, but that's really the only reason why. Definitely we'll see the movie. Definitely we'll see the movie.
It's on my I already want to watch it, and I know it's getting started. They haven't even picked a director yet.
Yeah.
So let's go over what's next week then.
Yeah, I definitely want Tom to read this one too. I think he would like it as well.
Matt just started it.
Yeah. So next week we are talking about The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. And this cover is the reason we picked this up. It's just gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
And we will talk about that one next week. I am almost finished with it, actually.
And then after that is Triptych. I got that right.
Triptych by Kareen Slaughter. And yeah, Triptych. I don't have a copy of that one. I did the audiobook for it. And then look for the middle of this month. We will post, probably next week, we will post the October reads, which will include Kendra, author, the author
extraordinaire.
Yeah, and we'll talk to her in October and release those titles. And guys, go look at our website. Like, please go.
Yeah, it's super awesome.
On there. I'm pretty proud of us. We've gone from like this dream, a literal dream that you had of like, hey, we started this podcast. It's a year and a half later from when you had that dream.
Yeah,
we have a website. We like have an actual like legitimate thing going on now.
We do.
Really cool.
Like we're real. It's like a real thing now.
Yeah. And we really appreciate the feedback we've gotten. We've gotten amazing comments on our social media, and we do get like book suggestions, and we do put them on pod. So please,
we do. I mean, Houseless Brilliancy was a guest, a fan suggestion. So send them in to us. Email them to us. Send us in those suggestions. Till next week, guys. We're gonna see you later.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us on Book Besties. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The views discussed here are those of Molly and April and not those of anyone else. Today's book was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Your Book Besties are Molly Biggs and April Watkins. Editing by Thomas Watkins and music is Sleep Sweetly by Brigida. Don't forget to follow Book Besties on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. If you'd like to contact the Book Besties, please email us at bookbestiespod@gmail.com or by visiting our website, bookbestiespodcast.com.